has belief in the father and the mother that whenever he or she is carried and he tries to do his false movements, he or she will not fall off. And that's one thing that struck me. And the understanding got to me this evening that, look, according to Psalm 42 verse 11, and I have hope and confidence that God will come through for me. That young child, knowing very well that the mother and the father is capable of supporting and holding and preventing him from fall. Why not you as well? Remember that that particular hope is the confidence we have that God will come through for us. Wherever you're going, whatever you're going through this evening, wherever you're watching us from, remember that your faith, your hope, your confidence, if for anything at all, must be in God. And that's how I want to start the show this evening. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming through and spending your Tuesday evening with us. It's been a delight from season 1 till now. For those of you who are watching the first time, this is Just Ask. My name is Kokulumo. It is a platform that is created especially for you. Remember, all questions that we put on here comes from you. Is engineered by you. You ask the questions. Why? Some of you say beyond the four walls of the church, the reverend is not available. He's gone for counseling, evangelism, and of course the Sunday services and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday services are like monologues. And so can we create a platform that you will bring your questions that will be further discussed, and so some clarity and further and better particulars brought to your understanding, exactly what we do here on Just Ask. And that's why we're imploring you to like all our pages. Remember that we're streaming live on Facebook and of course on YouTube, Dominion TV, also live on TV. And so any question you have at all costs in the course of the program, make sure you share it with us, and let's have to share it with the world as well. My name is Kokulumo. Thank you very much. We'll take a breather here. When we come back, my guests are seated. I'll introduce them to you. We'll jump straight into the questions. This is Just Ask. Stay with us. Welcome, and we're excited to have all of you. It's a beautiful evening. It's a Tuesday evening right here in Ghana, Accra, where we're coming to you live from is our Dominion studios here. This Dominion TV. And one thing you need to do is to make sure that you follow the program, like all our pages, Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. We are everywhere. Just make sure that you connect with us. Let us know what you think about what we do here. My guests are seated and we are excited about it. First time in the house and we're excited about it. Mrs. Tracy Adai joins us and I am excited about it. Hey, Mrs. Adai, it's good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed. Relax. This is your home. This is your home. And so we're about to get into some beautiful things. And a lot of you, it's been questions that keep coming. And probably we need to address it the more. Well, who, again, will support us in doing that? You know already. Reverend Roland Soa is also in the building. We're excited to have you again.
Good to see you as usual.
As
always, yeah.
Thank you. Well, we are ready to get into the questions. So remember that all questions that we discuss here, that we bring answers to, are from you. And so if you also want to send in your question, it could be through text or just quick video of yourself, selfie, of course, a minute or less, and send it to the numbers on your screen, and we will definitely feature it on all our subsequent shows. Remember to send in your question and let us have answers to that, because there's a lot of confusion in the system and about the Christendom. Let's toss to the very first question. When we come back, my guests are ready to do justice by the grace of God. Is it advisable for couple to live in their parents' house after marriage? is it advisable for couples to live in their parents' house after marriage? That is our first question for today. And I'm excited about that. And I want to put it in proper perspective, right? In a case where probably you're just starting life, your parents have at least 2 extra rooms to spare, and you just want to get married. Is it not just wise to pitch there and be there? Because probably they are looking for support. And so once you are there, you grow. I see it in the movies, and I think it's great, isn't it?
Well, once again, good evening to your listeners and the viewers. I must say that anytime you violate a principle, in effect, you are not violating a principle, you are violating yourself.
Whoa.
Yes.
I see.
Because the Bible is the blueprint when it comes to marriage. Okay, so, but the question you asked, is it okay to be with your parents because they have additional rooms where you can lodge? And then, you see, when you go to Sri Lanka, you go to Bangladesh, you go to China, Japan, you go to Western Europe and a few other places, you know, around the globe. I mean, you come to realize that to them, it is not really a problem.
Okay.
Because they see the son, if not the son-in-law, to be the one to take care of the elderly in the family.
Okay.
To them, it's an honor to do that. But should that be the standard? When you look at the canon of Scripture, talking about the Word of God, you realize that we have a blueprint we are working with. If you read Genesis chapter 2:24, it says that for this cause, a man shall leave his father and mother. Leave his father and mother.
Literally.
Exactly. I'm going to go through a few things with our viewers to understand the concept of leaving and cleaving. I did what we call textual criticism, you know, and I got some variants. I will explain that. It has to do with the fact that when the Bible was written, we don't have the original copies as we have today.
Okay.
So the ones closer to the original copies can be found in what we call the Alexandria text type, or the Byzantine text type, or the Western text type. Now, when I searched for this, you know, word, leave, you know what it says?
Tell me.
It's a harsh word.
It's a harsh word.
What God was trying to imply is that a man must, number one, forsake his father and mother. Number two, it means abandon his father and mother. It also means to leave something significant behind just because you found your love. It means you are shifting your loyalty and allegiance from your place of birth, your home of origin, to your newfound love. And God exhibited same. I'll prove to you in Scripture. Now, if you look at the word cleave, cleave has to do with the fact that you are glued together, as a matter of fact, fused, to the extent that no air can penetrate through the two of you. Where you become one flesh, it means that if you are fair and I am dark and we become one flesh, they can't distinguish between my skin and yours. You are fused together. So in that sense, per the biblical definition, unless maybe it's something temporal, mommy and daddy are not sick, you are there for a while to do that. But biblically, you have to leave.
Abandon.
Forsake.
And you also speak
something significant behind.
And you also talk about the allegiance you have with your parents. You leave that.
Exactly. You know, it's not to say that you are not supposed to take care of.
So that's why I wanted us to be clear on that particular one. That's why I wanted loyalty and allegiance. So it's not the care. Are you also going to toe the line of Reverend Soa? And as he spoke about that, I mean, you can add it to whatever it is that you're prepared to share with us, but he spoke about cultures. The culture, I'm not sure, is out of place. So if Sri Lankans are doing it, why can't we also adopt that? And would that make us people who are bound for hell? But tell me about it. Would you also want to toe the line of Reverend Soa?
Yes, thank you so much for the question.
Right.
I think I would also say same. As Christians, what does the Bible tell us?
Okay.
We live by the principles of the Bible.
Right.
And the Bible tells us that the man will leave the father and mother, cleave
Live and cleave.
and together they become one flesh. So it means if there's no leaving, there is no cleaving. And automatically the one flesh then will not happen.
No.
So it means that even if you marry your wife for, let's say, 20 years,
Okay.
and you are still living with your parents, you have not left, and the cleaving
Has not happened.
has not happened.
Oh.
That is how powerful it is. And Osofo said cleaving means to stick together,
Yes.
to glue.
Yes.
That's very powerful. Koko, let me just, I wouldn't say sign, let's do some small signs
Please
here.
go ahead.
You realize that there was a first attachment during pregnancy with the mother and the child, the baby,
Right.
through the umbilical cord connection.
Right.
Science taught us that with the umbilical cord connection, the nutrients, water, food is transported from the mother to the baby.
Right.
Okay, so that is a bond.
Yes.
And aside that, there's also an attachment. Okay, that glues the mother to the baby, and that particular connection was designed by God. So that's the primary attachment.
Oh.
And God, being so wise, knows that when it comes to okay, so marriage is also a second attachment.
Oh.
So the baby bonded with the mother right from infancy. So that primary attachment is there. So God knows that if you want the second attachment, that is marriage,
To work.
to work,
have
and
to
you
leave.
bring the secondary and add it to the primary, it's going to cause a problem. That's why he said you should leave. Because already you are cleaving with your mother because of the connection in the womb.
And that connection is strong, eh?
Very strong.
That's
You know
why some
why?
of us become mommy's boys and
Exactly. Because caring for kids is very difficult, to be very honest. When you have a newborn baby, you need to wake up at, like, let's say 3-4 times to breastfeed and do other things. So that bond was created so that mothers will have some kind of unconditional love for their children. So that bond is very great. And since you're also with your parents, your mommy will be cooking for you, blah, blah. So that bond is still there. Koku, till you leave, you can never cleave. So if you add the secondary cleaving to the secondary attachment, if you add it to the primary, fireworks.
I see.
So if you don't want any trouble, please break from the primary attachment, then you go to the secondary.
So the leaving we're talking about here is literally pack your bags,
Yes.
belongings. The
Yes.
day they say, I do to you, you
Yes.
also say you do to the person.
Yes.
Get out of that
Get
place.
out. We are not saying don't take care of your parents or cut every ties with them. No. But just leave so that you can have peace. Exactly. But you see, God in his own wisdom, God designed marriage. And he knew very well that there's something called in-law conflict.
In-law conflict.
He knew it.
Okay.
God knows the end from the beginning, and he designed it. So he knows very well that there's something called in-law conflict. So when you bring your wife, you're already cleaving with your mother, you have not left, you have not broken that bond. So you bring your wife also. So are you going to cleave to your mother or to how do you balance the two?
I see. I mean, these are very interesting perspectives there. And where Mrs. Adai came from today, I mean, I have never seen it that way. She brought in some science, and that's from within. But what if, yes, of course, it's biblical. It's a biblical principle. But you and your wife come to an understanding that for reasons best known to both of you, you still want to stay in the place but bring them this time. So you have left the house, but they probably do not have anywhere to stay, and you want them to come and stay with you. Is that leaving or transporting? What have you done?
Well, Koku, I think that it's like a reverse gear.
It is
A reverse gear. You know, God is so wise.
Right.
Leaving is not only limited to physical, exit.
Right.
It has to do with emotions and also relations. Like I said initially, you are not going to shirk your responsibility by taking care of your parents. You have to take care of them, honor your father and your mother, so it will be well with you, so you will live long. That's one, let's really underscore that. You must do that. However, because God himself exhibited same.
Indeed.
Do you know how he did that? Christ left his Father in heaven and came down for his bride. But before he could get his bride, he had to leave his mother when he was on the cross. Okay? For his side to be pierced, the same place Adam actually had his rib taken from, to come out with the woman. So when Christ's side was opened up, blood and water came, the same composition, and the church was born. That becomes his bride. And you know what Christ said? God, being the one who initiated the principle of living and cleaving, started by saying that, you have to go through this paraphrase. And Christ said, why have you forsaken, the same word, why have you forsaken me?
The abandoned, forsaken.
Exactly. Because what Christ did was an engagement ceremony. Because you have to leave your father and leave your mother and be joined to the church, which is the bride, and you become one flesh. So the Bible says Christ is the head and we are the members of his body. It's a principle. If you bring them to your home, for how many days are they going to be there? It is better you rent out a place for them, unless maybe it's due to medical reasons or medical grounds you are supposed to take care of them. Fine.
How about wisdom? Shouldn't wisdom tell you that, see, you are broke, or after marriage things are not working, you owe some responsibility also towards your parents, and so we need to fix them, and we cannot do a double responsibility by taking care of that home and this home. Is that not wisdom enough?
Well, it implies that you were never ready in the first place to get married. You have to count the cost. And honestly, we find ourselves in an era where people spend a lot of resources on the wedding. And somebody says the biggest weddings are the shortest marriages, basically. So if you spend that much, for which reason you couldn't count the cost to get a place for your parents or pet yourself, at the end of the day, the photographer is calling you, please, the deposit you gave us, we need more to be able to wash your pictures for you. The caterer is calling you, the food we serve at the wedding, please, we need our balance. Why couldn't you count the cost? But you definitely have to leave before you can cleave. Interesting.
I'm going to be introducing a book to you. Very, very interesting. So that you count your costs before you go in there. But before I come to Mrs. Adai, Christian Newton on our YouTube live stream. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube and of course on Facebook. So if you want to join the conversation and tell us what you also think, whether or not they are not telling the truth, whether or not it's a lie, and you also want to bring it from another perspective, let us know. But from Christian Newton says, arrived here first. Yes, you were the first to arrive there. Looking forward to interesting questions and great answers from both our guests. Good evening to you, of course. But she comes out and says, I agree with Reverend Soa. God's manual for marriage is to separate yourself from both parents, find a studio or one bedroom and start life from there together. That's a good one. Start life together. Again, so there's no compromise at all. What if, let's say, Prophet Soa tells me, because probably it's coming from a prophet that says you need to stay and take care of your parents. What if? Does that go against? Should I listen to that or still follow the biblical principle?
I think you should still follow it.
The biblical principle.
You should still follow it. You see, this whole in-law issue, you see, it's apart from the biblical side,
right?
There's this interference. If you don't want any trouble, it's best, like Reverend said, maybe you can just find a place for them while you go and take care of them. I'm sure there are other family members also that you can also, maybe who are also not married.
Indeed.
So that they could just get someone who is single, someone who's not yet married.
Right.
And you guys can just put in money, whatever support, just to take care of them. If you add them, it's not easy.
I see.
It's not easy.
How are there instances where probably because people are yet to go into marriage, right? And we are saying this thing, it could be a bit abstract. What at all could arise, which are practical examples? Let's share with them so that some of them who probably have not read this book yet and also have not gone in there and are thinking that when I get married, I want my father and my mother, or my mother who has given birth to me all my life, taking care of me. I became a doctor, a lawyer, and you say she should stay alone? Heck no. Forget Bible.
Yes.
What's the danger there?
One of the dangers is lack of boundaries. If, let's say, you find yourself in the house with your in-laws and you have one kitchen, does it mean that your mother-in-law, or let's say my wife stays with me, you know, at my mom's end, and my mom is going to have to cook when she leaves the kitchen? She's also coming, my wife is also coming back to cook. Koku, if it is a 1-bedroom or 1.5 bedroom or 2-bedroom, and it's partitioned with, let's say, a plaster board, in the night, I can't even have anything to do with my wife, because if I'm screaming and moaning, the partitioning will actually you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Basically. Now, it also brings issues when it comes to decision taking.
Right.
If you are not careful, we have nice in-laws, no two ways about that, but in their quest to help you, may end up taking decisions for you that you are not ready for.
Right.
So these are some of the things that we have to look at. Because there is no way you will be in your in-laws' house and call the shot. No. The influence is going to be so great. The impact is going to be so great. At a point in time when the baby is not coming, trouble for you.
This is a very tricky one, and forgive me, and this is to both of you. You can help me. What if me as, okay, so my father or my mother is wealthy enough to buy a house for both of us? So in case, I'm sure if it's a man, it's fine. But in the case of a woman, what if the woman's father has money to buy a place for us and give to us? Have we not still left and cleaved somewhere?
You've left and you are cleaving. That's a gift. It's like a wedding gift.
So that's fine.
You know, on my wedding day, I got a gift, a car.
Oh,
that doesn't mean I've not left and cleaved to my wife. You know what I'm saying? So the house could be a gift. Okay. I mean, talking about the fact that you have left your father. The principal thing is leave your father and your mother. Now, God in his own wisdom has designed in such a way that when you leave, in actual fact, you are exchanging fathers. Because as a daughter, what happens? You bear the name of your father. Okay? When a man leaves, that lady's father will hand her over to you, and you adopt the man's name. So it's a transfer.
Yeah.
So that the man becomes your father and your husband at the same time, because he's supposed to take care of you, nourish you, make sure he provides for you. That is basically what the Bible stipulates, that, you know, as far as the blueprint of marriage is concerned.
Are there any, Mrs. Ada, are there any boundaries we need to watch out for in terms of gifts like this? Because sometimes when they are able to give it to you, they might be able to call the shots. That's where I was coming from, actually. And so they, but we give you, you don't want us to come and visit. We are coming 2 weeks, 4 months, because I gave you the house. Are there boundaries that we need to watch out for?
I think that, you see, no two people are the same.
Okay. Okay.
Before you even accept the gift or not, you should know who your parents are. There's some in-laws, after they give you the gifts, it's just gone. Some of them, whether they are living with you or not, they will still come and interfere. They feel that once they're giving you the gifts, they have the right to come there at any time.
Indeed.
Exactly. So I think that I'll still go with what Osofo said. If it's mine, my parents, fine. I know they will not come to interfere.
You're right.
But maybe if it's coming from the other side, it may be a problem.
You have to watch it.
Okay.
Natasha, right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I have this example. I have this friend who was living with her mother-in-law. So the husband was staying outside the country. Okay. So anytime the husband comes around to coming home for, let's say, vacation or something, you realize that my friend will come from the office, try to prepare her own food, do everything, so that to wait for her husband to come and enjoy. So when she comes, she goes to the airport, picks the husband. Before she gets home, the mother-in-law has also cooked and replaced. So she'll come and set the hotel, take my friend's food, put it somewhere. Then she comes to put her own food there. Okay. Because she's even though they were living at the boys' quarters, the house belonged to her, so she had the keys. So when my friend will tell you that I don't even know when this woman started cooking, I don't know how. The way she just come and put everything back on the table is so amazing.
And when you come, because the man is just coming, you might not want him to meet those aggressions, and so you just have to allow it to go.
So when it happens that way,
right,
the woman will tell the son, yes, oh, your wife did this for you, but I prepared your favorite meal. And this is the only son of the woman. So the man says, I don't want to offend my mother, so I have to eat her food.
Will you eat your wife's food or you eat your mother?
Let me live and clean.
You have to live and clean.
I have to live and clean. Natasha Annan says, what if the man says he's not financially free, therefore we have to be at his family house?
He shouldn't have married in the first place. Count the cost. Listen, this thing we call marriage, I define marriage as, an invitation to death.
Yeah.
You have to die to yourself, to live for your spouse.
Indeed.
So when it comes to the issue of living and cleaving, we can negotiate and navigate our way around it. It is, woven in the fabric of the kingdom culture. Yeah. We have to go by that strictly.
Go by that strictly, and of course, think about it. Count the cost as well. Just think about it. But while at it, make sure that you get this book for a friend who has not yet gotten married. Someone who is looking for a partner every day is telling me, I look for some woman to marry. I'm looking for a guy to marry. Get this book, Choosing the Right Marriage Partner. What is in there as well is that it's so exciting that the current red flags of Generation Z, Gen Z, millennials, all of them are here. What to watch out for, the man not to go for, the woman not to go for. It's all here. Beautifully authored by the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williamson. So make sure you go to Amazon. If you are watching us from anywhere in the world, please go to Amazon. Get a copy, a digital copy now, a soft copy for yourself. But if you are here in Accra, especially you are close to the Action Chapel, come to the bookshop and get yourself one. Buy for a friend. Those of your friends who are going to get married, this is the greatest gift. Give it to them. Tell them to read it. After that, I'm sure they will come and give you testimonies as well, especially after the marriage. Let's take a break at this point. When we come back, quite a number of questions you have sent in. We'll read them out. We'll get the answers as well. I'm sure God will be a blessing unto us. Stay with us.
It's good to be with you. Thank you for tuning in. I have with me some of the latest release of my books that I believe will impact your life. The snare of indifference simply has to do with lukewarmness, how the enemy has succeeded to cast spells on the church, to desensitize God's people, to cause us to slumber, spiritual slumber. These are not the days to slumber. These are days to be awake and alive and to be on our watch and our guard like never before. Please get this book. It will bless you, to impact your life. It will break the snare and the spell. It will lift the veil of you, and it will illuminate the eyes of your understanding and help you to avoid lukewarmness. Because being lukewarm, it's very dangerous. You are not hot and you are not cold. That's what simply it means by being lukewarm. You are not in and you are not out. It's very dangerous. There is no middle ground anywhere. You are in or out. This book, The Snare of Indifference, Lukewarmness, it shows you the signs of lukewarmness and how to overcome it. Get this book. It will impact your life. And as you do so, God bless you.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you very much for tuning in and staying with us as well. If you just joined us, we're discussing very pertinent issues. Of course, the very first question from you, the viewers, was that would you leave? Would you want to leave? Or is it advisable to stay in your parents' house after you get married? As we have said, please, it's a no-no. It's no. morally, biblically, financially, everything. It's wrong. Just run. And so leave and cleave, according to what the Bible says. Just leave and build your family. You can support. We have not also said don't support your parents. We are only saying that leave the place and take your wife and or husband elsewhere. Let's go to the second question. My guests are still here in the studio. Reverend Roland Soa is here, of course. Mrs. Tracy Adai is also here with us. They are answering our questions, and God is helping us. The Holy Spirit is also giving us wisdom to be able to walk you through. Love and submission in marriage. Which one comes first? Love and submission. Which one comes first? Love and submission. Which one comes first? That's our question from you, the viewers. Love and submission in marriage. Which one comes first? I've heard this question. A lot of men and women have used it also against each other, right? Some have said, you are not a submissive woman. I asked you to do something, you have not submitted. See what the Bible said, you have not done. But first of all, let's tackle it. Love and submission, which one comes first?
Well, it's not really a matter of which one comes first.
Okay.
I think that the two are reciprocal.
Okay.
Okay. Just like the law of cause and effect. If, let's say, submission is the effect, then there should be a corresponding cause, which is, love.
Love, okay.
Okay. Genuine love actually activates genuine submission. You can't force a woman into submission. That becomes subjugation. That's not true submission. Okay. And as a man, but you see, when you read Ephesians, Paul starts by saying that submit one to the other. Yourselves to each other. So the playing field is that it is for both parties. Before he goes on to talk about the fact that husband must love their wives as Christ loves the church. Please, do you know what that means? To love your wife as Christ loves the church? Because, let me say this, a man or a husband deserves and has the right to expect submission from his wife to the extent and degree that he lives and acts like Jesus Christ towards his wife.
Say that again.
If you don't follow the pattern of Christ and live like Christ towards your wife, don't expect submission. Because as Christ loved the church implies that, imagine Christ comes to the church one day with a baseball bat and he's just, if you don't submit to me, I'm going to knock your head. I'll be the first person to backslide, because it is diametrically against his nature, his loving nature. His love is so heavy, we can't contain, to the extent that you encounter Christ, nobody tells you to just open up your heart to him, because he's so loving. So for a man to expect submission from a woman, let's learn how Christ treats the church, and by that we can follow the same pattern. Now, somebody used the submarine as an analogy to explain submission. It says that if you look at the three letters, sub is a prefix which means under. Marine means what? Water. So submission means under. Submarine, means underwater.
Okay.
So submission simply, according to the person, means that bringing your vision and mission under the mission of the man. Where you have two visions, in our science or in our literature, we call it die, or two is die, right? Yeah. So it becomes division, division. Where you bring your vision, I bring my vision, we are going separate ways. Of course, there is division. So to submit simply means to recognize, to encourage, to support your husband's God's given responsibilities of overall family leadership. As a matter of fact, submission is actually based on position, not personhood. Even though the Bible commands the woman, it's a command to submit to the husband, it's actually, when it comes to compliance, it is voluntary.
Why? Why do you say that before I go to you?
Because submission is triggered by genuine love.
Okay.
She may try to submit to you. It's not forthcoming because the genuine love, which is supposed to trigger the submission, is not being activated. So Kwaku, I end by saying that love your wife into submission.
Love your wife
Into submission.
into submission. I don't know whether you have anything to say about this particular, whether or not which one comes first. If you agree, you agree. But I'm saying this, and I know a lot of people are the way they are because they did not feel loved at home. Now, when I go and meet such a person, and I am loving, and I am loving, and I am loving, because the person does not love herself, and she's not submitting, what happens then?
Okay, Kwaku, so love and submission go hand in hand.
Right.
Okay. So in law, there's something, there's a saying that he who wants equity must be ready to do equity.
Indeed.
And he who goes to equity must go with clean hands.
Yes.
Kwaku, so if you are loving your wife, as Christ said we should love, is in the Bible, and she is not submitting, it means you have done your part. So you can then go to God and tell God that, God, I'm loving my wife, but she is not submitting to me. You have done your part.
Okay.
So because you have done your part, you have every ground, you have every cause to go to God. So you can go to God. You do your part. Leave your spouse to God for God to work on that spouse. So do your part.
To when?
Okay? I believe that when you do your part, do it genuinely, and you pray to God, it will work.
I see.
Yeah. It will.
This whole, and where he started from, and it's beautiful. It sounds so good, and it's perfectly what God probably wants to see. But why is it difficult to see love, and then why is it difficult to see people also submitting?
Okay. So Kwaku, the whole thing is that God knows that it's difficult for a man to love. That's why he instructed men to love their wives. And he realized that it's difficult for women to submit. Women naturally are not submissive. That is why God instructed us to submit. You see, so I see it as we look at the flaws of our spouses. If I'm being asked to submit to my husband, I can just say that this man who probably doesn't bath well,
Or doesn't bath like twice a day. Just once.
Exactly. This man doesn't even pay. He's not responsible enough. He doesn't do this. He does so that we are focusing on his flaws, his weaknesses, shortcomings. It's about time we take it as an instruction from God. If you look at your spouse, you may never be able to submit.
Say that again. I love that.
I'm saying that if you look at the flaws, the shortcomings or the weaknesses of your spouse, you may never be able to love or to submit to the person. So do it as you are doing it unto the Lord.
So many a times we're looking, it's the flaws that make us not to do the things we do.
Yeah. And sometimes when there are issues to, as a counselor, most of the times I encounter issues. And when you speak to the couple, the man will tell you that she's not submissive, so I'm not able to love her. And the woman says, he doesn't also love me. That's why I'm not able to submit. Okay? So as soon as you are pronounced as husband and wife, take on your submissive shoes, take on your love shoes. It should flow. Because if you are waiting for one person to do the other, it becomes a problem.
There's always, I mean...
Well, just to add to what she said, I'm also of the view that the man must initiate the whole thing. You see, the man is the foundation of the family. And the building is as good as its foundation. For example, God wanted somebody to express love to. So he formed man from the dirt of the ground and actually transferred his love into man. Man is supposed to, not to hoard the love, he's also supposed to transfer the love. So God actually formed, you know, not formed, but woman was taken from the side of man, she came, and man is supposed to love the woman. I say that whatever problem we encounter in our families, even if the woman is at fault, the responsibility lies with the man to correct that behavior.
Interesting.
Yes, because the man is supposed to be the one who is supposed to hold the family together. Bible says that God gave Adam the word to be able to teach Eve. So you, the man, must play the love role, and automatically the submissiveness of the woman will come to play. But if you are waiting for the, unfortunately, in our society or system, we normally say ladies first. In the Bible context, it's not ladies first. It begins with the man.
In his, why did he then make us kokoti like this? I'm just thinking, or it's just like we are the people who are doing kokoti, like chinchina, we cannot laugh. Me, I'm a man, I'm showing you love, I'm paying school fees, I'm buying cars, and you say I should laugh.
Yeah, Coco, one thing I've realized, over the years when it comes to marriage is that we have role models for almost everything, but when it comes to marriage, we don't have role models people will look up to.
Yeah.
So we've not been well taught how to even stay with a woman, handle a man, how to talk to a man, how to talk to a woman. We've not been taught that. So when it comes to submitting to your husband, when it comes to loving, we think love has to do with emotions. I was telling Tracy, Councillor Tracy, that if a man comes to my house one day, I have 3 girls, and you tell me you want to marry my daughter, and the only reason is I love your daughter, you better tell me something else, because love is not a guarantee that my daughter is going to be with you or you are going to be with my daughter for life. Love does not guarantee a successful relationship. What guarantees a successful relationship is knowledge, understanding. Love is the icing on the cake. Even with that, when it becomes heated, it can become thin on the cake. So it should be something beyond that.
Love. I see. There are some questions, and this one seemed to draw us back, but I mean, we need to quickly attend to it before we go for the next break. Nana Nyamiche says, before I met my husband, he had built 2 apartments on his mother's compound. Is it wrong to live there as we are married now? I'm sure she wants to write. So that's from Nana Nyamiche. Then Veronica Nuris Inunson says, living and cleaving is the best way to go for absolute peace of mind. Shout out to Mrs. Adai. But let's come back to that. Before I met my husband, he had built 2 apartments on my mother's compound. On my mother's compound. Should we leave?
And take your house and let your mother take it. You just leave the house so that your mother will take her land and
or probably also rent it out.
On a more serious
right?
note, if they're not having any issue, okay, even if they happen to be in their own home where they built on their mother's property, piece of land, and they're not having any issue with the mother, with the father, no interference, it's okay. The fact that the umbilical cord is still there, that is what the problem is. Just detach from your mother, your father. Even if you are about 5 minutes away from home, I mean, talking about where your parents are, and you don't have any interference from them, you have your boundaries intact, I think it's not bad.
I see. Jennifer Nelson says, I agree with Mrs. Adai. You first play your part and you complain to God. Yeah. But what if you are complaining, God is not answering? You say, God, I have come again. Yet the woman is not submitting. Why? What do we do? Mrs. Adai.
Koku, you keep praying, you answer.
That alone is an answer.
Ebenezer Pambin says, great and hard working production team. More power to your elbows. Thank you very much as well. Well, these are some. You can also join us. Let us know what you think about this particular one as well. But we're excited that a lot of comments are coming through. Remember, we are streaming live on Facebook and, of course, on YouTube. And so just see it, Dominion TV. Look for us, like the pages, and make sure all the time you get these updates and notifications as and when we come on. We are on all socials, Dominion TV. Most of the time, you see that we are verified as well. So like the pages and get ready for action packed. We have a lot of things in stock for you. Let's take a break. When we come back, the final lap of the conversation, no matter how it's interesting, we have to bring it to some closure. But of course, the final lap is coming up. Stay with us.
Estelle Inspires, where we stay inspired. Yeah. So why did you go in the direction of a daycare? I mean, children can be, oh boy.
I was always trying to figure out how things work.
Were you one of those kids that would dismantle things for no reason?
Yes.
Oh God.
Absolutely.
I have one of those.
Relatable. I already started, drinking. I started smoking
At 9?
at 9 years old.
Really?
Yeah, so I was dealing with the abuse from my mother.
Deeper.
We used to pray together, people that were out of our minds. We were young, bro, but we love God.
More fun. More inspiration.
Have you ever imagined your life without Jesus?
It's always been looking at children as capable and competent, right? There's a reason why Jesus said, let the children come to me. Like, they're not too young to learn and understand.
Yes. When I'm back, enjoy every moment of it because it's going to be superb. Right? Yeah.
It's Benny Stell Inspires Season 2, Friday at 7 p.m. and Tuesdays at 9 a.m. on Dominion TV.
The season is up and running. Save! Spain are the champions of the world!
Sports Break on Dominion TV.
Welcome back to the show. We're excited that you can stay with us. This is Just Ask. My name is Kokulumo. My guests are still here for the final lap of the conversation. Mrs. Tracy Adai, of course, Reverend Roland Soa are here. They're helping us understand this. These are very deep men, man and woman of God. And so please make sure you connect with them. Also, if you have not gotten this book for your unmarried brothers and sisters, please do so. Be a part of that journey that helps them to get in touch with, sound biblical principles on marriage. And of course, how to even relate it to these current trends of how we choose partners. Not shiny forehead, not gray hair here, kakra. It has to be sound biblical knowledge. And you've got to seek that. Remember, so I just said, if you come and you say, I want to marry your daughter, it has to be knowledge above love. So seek knowledge, get this book, Choosing the Right Marriage Partner. You can get it on Amazon, or better still, if you are close to the Action Chapel headquarters here in Accra, come by the bookshop, pick one, pick another for a friend, share it to them. And so that when they come calling, you reference it. Let's go for the final question. When we come back, the answers are here. Children don't marry, only adults. What is the meaning of these statements? Every day they are telling us, children don't marry, only adults. Someone is asking, what is the meaning of this statement? Children don't marry, only adults. We all know. So why are you sounding it again for us? We know that it's not for children, it's above 18.
Cool. In fact, marriage is not a bed of roses, nor is it a bowl of cherries. It is hard work. If you go to work 5 a.m., sometimes 6 a.m., and you start at 8 a.m. and close at 5 p.m., you think you're working hard. But if you're not married, marry and see. That's where you get to know that marriage is hard work than what you're doing. Okay? Now, you've gone for somebody's daughter or somebody's son, and you stood before the altar, and they ask you, do you do? You say, I do, and you're now back home. It is not like election, where after you've won the election, no campaign. No.
That's where the campaign begins.
That is where the campaign begins.
I'm told that this is the only school that you take the certificate before you go, you start learning.
That's true. That's true. Marriage is an invitation to death, and it's for the matured man.
Say that again.
It is an invitation to death.
Which death?
Now let me explain, because it's covenant. In the olden days, in biblical days, what they do is that because marriage is a covenant, if you're going to go into a covenant, they kill a beast, and the bride stands at one end and the groom also stands at the opposite direction, and they are made to cross paths and exchange places. Now as they begin to move, this is what they say: I enter my death, I enter my death, I die to myself, I live unto you. So they swap places. And when that is done, if the woman came into the union with debts, it becomes our debt. If she came with a lot of goodies, it becomes our goodies. So in that sense, it is not like, where is my purse? It is, where is our purse?
Okay.
Now, if you are ready, you know, some people assume that they are ready for marriage because they are about to get married. I take it again. They think that so long as I've been able to get my things intact, I've bought the cloth, I've bought all these things that they need, the family needs, therefore I'm ready.
Yes,
no,
a good paying job.
It is no joke. If you see, the most important decision in life is your salvation. That's number one. The second most important decision in life is the partner you take, your life partner. Because that partner, after having given your life to Christ, can destabilize your equilibrium and divert, and change your course to hell. It's a serious issue, and we don't have to take it lightly. And today, what we see is that people go around and just, oh, I'm in love with this guy, I'm in love with this guy, let's get married. It doesn't work like that. It's like the city of it. Those who are in wants to go out, those who are out want to come in. The only thing that insulates us is the fact that you are basing everything on biblical principle.
Do you agree? You see, how Reverend Soa says it, it may sound frightening, but it is the truth. But somebody will then ask, with what you are prepared to share with us, you can also add it. If it is this frightening, why am I supposed to go in it in the first place?
It's not as though it's frightening.
Okay.
You see, even in the Bible, somewhere in Matthew, Jesus said marriage is not for everyone unless you are matured.
Right.
So if we say children are not supposed to marry, it's not in the terms of age, but in terms of maturity. Okay. Reverend mentioned something about those insider, they want to come out. It just reminded me of something. I dated a guy way back in school.
Okay.
And we were a group of friends. So anytime there was an issue between myself and my then boyfriend, my friends got to know. You know how? Because, okay, there was nothing like WhatsApp, but we had Facebook.
Okay.
Anytime there's an issue,
he
would go there and go and post something there. So my friends would say, hey, that's a comment. So there's this particular time, one of my friends called and said, hey, have you seen what your then boyfriend has posted on Facebook? So I went to check, and he said, relationship is like a public toilet. Sorry. Those who are inside are eager to come out. Those who are outside are also eager to go in. Love is meaningless.
Love is meaningless.
That is what he said. He didn't mention my name or anything, but that comment alone made people know that there was some sort of conflict. This is a maturity we talk about. Koku, if you are matured and you have issues with your partner, you wouldn't be posting things on social media. If you are matured and you have issues with your partner, you wouldn't say, when my wife cooks for me, I will not eat. You wouldn't also say that when I see my husband in the morning, I will not greet him. Or I will not even sleep on the same bed with my husband. That is maturity.
So the cooking, you are fighting your wife. You and your wife, you are fighting. You want to eat.
You see, they say God loves the sinner but hates the sin. So if you are matured, you should be able to separate the bad things or the things your husband does that you don't like from your husband.
Okay.
So you don't like what he or she is doing to you, but you don't hate the person. So all the things that you were doing before the issue happened should still continue.
I see.
Okay. I heard a story of a man that I think every morning before they go out, they have morning devotions.
Okay.
And there was this day there was a problem between the man and the wife. So the man just left home without even telling his wife that he's leaving. Just at the junction, he nearly had an accident.
I see.
Yeah. So he had to go back home, go and reconcile, pray together. You see, maturity. Something has happened. You see, back then, our parents, so that you hear them having exchanges and everything, as soon as they hear a knock, maybe a visitor visiting them or something, you realize that they just try and compose themselves, act. You see, if you don't know how to act, you have to do that before you enter into marriage.
So they don't watch status.
I see. You know, status. What is happening in our houses on the status.
Exactly. Yeah. So that you don't wash your dirty linens in public.
There are some messages here before I come to Reverend Soa. Christian Newton says, thank you, Uncle Koku. I feel old. Don't call me that way. I feel old. I have my copy of the book to read during my leave next week. Oh, that's exciting. We're talking about this book. For those of you who have not gotten it, go to Amazon right now. Choosing the Right Marriage Partner. If you buy this book and you don't find anything worth reading in this, come, I'll give you your money. I'm telling you. Esperance Kayumbo says, a child is a person that is not matured enough to take someone else's responsibilities. So she just broke it down for all of us to see. So is it by age? It's not by age. It's not by age. Right? Okay,
and also, you know, you are supposed to enter into marriage dead.
Dead. Okay.
Dead on arrival.
Okay.
Okay. You know, before Adam got to see his bride, in the Bible, sleep means death. The Bible says we shall all not sleep. You know, sleep means death. God had to put him to death. You know, where he was put to sleep, of course, before the bride was taken out.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened in the New Testament. Before Christ had to see his bride, he had to be put to death before he gets to meet the bride. So as humans, as we are, it's a pattern we are supposed to follow. But you see, when we enter into marriage in the 21st century, what we do is that we enter into the union alive and not dead. Some people enter in coma and they resurrect again. But you're supposed to die to self. It is not about me, it is about my spouse. So everything that I need to do to ensure that she is okay, I have to do that. If I have to starve myself to keep her alive, that's what the Bible says, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up. How did he do that? He died on the cross. So you have to love your partner till death do us part. By the way, that till death do us part simply means that if I go against the vows I've taken concerning my wife, God, you have the right to kill me. That's what it means. Not natural death or you are old and you die and go. No. If you go against the vow, which is sacred, God, you have the right to kill me.
So can we write it that way rather?
So it is not for children.
So that we write it that way rather to say that, God, when I'm exchanging the vows, all the vows that I've said here, can you kill me if I go there? I'm sure people will stick to it.
I think it should be.
I'm sure.
You know, in the olden days, when you get married, what happens is that the priests and the elders of the town will come to your honeymoon, wait behind the tent or in front of the tent, wielding stones. If the bed sheet is not stained with blood, it means that the lady is not a virgin and you'll be stoned to death. I think we have to bring that back.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just saw somebody shaking their head like what people have done. No. We're out of time, and thank you very, very much. And this face, beautiful face, and of course, beautiful mind, Mrs. Tracy Adai. Thank you very much for gracing our screens and also adding something to our lives. Thank you very much. Of course, as always, I don't know where he gets this from, but we are praying for grace for both of them, of course. Reverend Soa, thank you. Thank you very much for coming as always. If you just tuned in, you came late, but you are not that late. You can go back to Facebook and of course on YouTube and start again and watch. It will be your evening delight. It's been a wonderful time. Next week, same time, Tuesday at 8 p.m. we're here for Just Ask. Just like this, I bring my guest and we go on to discuss topical issues that you send in. My name is Koku Lumo and I will be here again next week, doing it all over again. God bless you. Remember that Jesus loves you. I will see you soon.